What
All right. Sorry
Victor,
about
he's
Welcome to the
he
Scoop World Order, powered by Number One Riker. Got our new sponsor yesterday. Thank you, Rick and Rhett. Picked up a new F-150 Lariat. Awesome truck. It's Rick's truck. They are now a proud member of the Scoop advertising family, and Rick is also a subscriber. So appreciate it. I got my big baby, Michael Jordan, on. One of a handful of guys to start as an offensive lineman as a freshman, true freshman, game one. Unbelievable. You, Orlando Pace, are the only guys off the top of my head that can do that. Mike, tell me a little bit about, when Coach Meyer and them gave you the decision that, hey, we're going to go with you at left guard over some guys that are much older than you.
So my mindset coming into Ohio State was that I was going to go and I'm going to compete and I was going to start. And when Coach Meyer called my parents, I felt relieved, but I've always believed in myself since day one. And just hearing him tell my parents that, it made me happy.
Yeah, it's a big deal because, I think they had, Tony Underwood was just, a junior or senior, and, Joel Harrell. They had, 5 or 6 guys that were trying to audition for that spot. And, if everything's equal or you're a little bit better, you're so much younger. I'm a big fan of putting the most talented horse in there. Yeah, it's like horse racing. If in doubt, bet on the most talented one. And you were – a guy that was 3 and out, draft pick, started as rookie in the NFL, had a great Ohio State career. Talk to me, and you're also the alternate team player because you're a kid that, was an All-American guard and they kicked you in the center, which is difficult. People that have never snapped a football and had to block a G or a shade, they don't realize how hard that is. And tell me a little bit about your progression from year 1 to year 2, and then year 3 when you became our starting center.
So from year 1, it was kind of like a roller coaster ride. I lost to Penn State. It killed me. Felt like I let, the entire state of Ohio down. And then we lost to Clemson. But, having the older guys next to me, it definitely made me feel more comfortable. And then year 2 was kind of like, all right, you got the hang of this. Let's get it going now. Let's go for real. And I was more ferocious, more of an animal, more of a dog. And then, year 3, Coach Stud, he comes to me. I had got labrum surgery, and he says, look, we want the best 5 guys out there, and we want Malcolm Pridgeon to be left guard, and we're going to need a center. And I said, you know what? I never played center in my life, but I'll do it. So as soon as I was able to start snapping, me and Coach Stud come in at 6 p.m. and we stay there till 8, just snapping the ball up and down the field, and it was god-awful.
Yeah.
But playing center definitely helped me out in my career. It made me a much smarter player. I was able to call out defenses quickly, and I'm able to react to things without thinking about it, and that's something that helped me in the NFL as well. So each and everything I did at Ohio State prepared me in the best way possible to go to the next level.
Yeah, that's something I always stress to kids in recruiting and when I was in coaching is, work on both sides, left hand and right hand down. Because a lot of kids come in and they say that they're just a left tackle or I'm a left guard or, usually it's left tackles. They're always like, I'm the left tackle, period. I'm like, no, you got to learn how to put both hands down in the NFL. And plus, because you could flop from left guard to right guard to center, depending on who gets injured. If they're on a pinch, they might throw you back in at center in the NFL because you played it before, and if the backup center gets hurt or whatever. So it's a huge amount of value that you add because you could swing, you go out to tackle because what were your measurements at the combine? Were you 6'7", 6'6"?
6'6" and 3/4.
You're 6'7", basically.
Yeah.
Anywhere else in the universe, you're 6'7", except for the NFL combine. And when you're 6'7", you can play. You have the length and the arm length to play tackle, in a pinch. And people don't realize being a 6'7" center is really ridiculously hard. People don't realize most centers in the NFL are 6'1", 6'2", and you're 5 inches taller, and you got to bend down further. It's tough, but you're able to do it, and you're an All-American at it, which is amazing. What was it like when you found out you were named a first-team All-American and you're going to get a tree in the Grove?
Oh man, it was very, I was very emotional. I was very happy. I was ecstatic, because when you go in for 1 year and you practice a couple months of one summer, and you never played center before in your life, and you become an All-American, that's definitely something that's worth being happy over.
Mm-hmm.
So I was nothing but thankful and ecstatic.
Yeah, was there ever a point, maybe in the season or after a game, where you might have had some erratic snaps, and you're like, God, is this going to cost me a chance to be a first team All American because of this or that? I
Yeah,
mean,
it was definitely that.
yeah,
I can remember a couple of games. I think it was TCU. Kirk Herbstreit was just on my butt, like,
yeah, oh yeah,
and let's see, and then maybe Michigan State. I think I only had a couple bad snaps that year, but it definitely got to me. But you know what, Coach Stud told me, you got to block it out, because if you keep thinking about it, it's going to get worse. So as soon as I was able to block it out, I started playing a lot better, and I was able to finish the season strong.
yeah. And Mike, you always have to remember is that you never need to take criticism from a grown man that gets a spray tan. So don't ever forget that. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I always tell people, I was like, those who can play, and those who can't either coach or commentate or criticize. So, you're the guy who's out there doing it. And like, that transition that you did in 1 year was just so unbelievable. It was so hard to do. You stepped up, you're the leader of the room. And it was just, it's incredible. I mean, you're replacing 2 straight Remington winners. And I mean, Pat did it, Bill did it, but they're also like, Pat's body type is more of a center type. You're like a tackle. You're a 6'7". You're probably one of the tallest guards in the NFL, because you go out there on Sunday and you don't see a lot of 6'7" guards. They're usually 6'4", 6'5", and it's a big deal to be that. And there probably isn't a 6'7" center in the entire National Football League. I bet you there isn't. And there aren't many in college. So that was just a credit to you being a team player. I was proud of you for that. So let's go a little bit into your decision to go pro early, which I was a big proponent of. I'm a big fan of you guys want to get paid. And people are like, well, he's not quite good enough, or he should come back for his senior year and maybe develop a little bit. But I'm like, there's no guarantee that you're not going to get hurt. There's no guarantee that you're going to have as good of a year. There's so many variables that people think about, but it's like, when you're 20, were you 20 years old when you declared, or 21?
I was 20, turning 21.
That's what I mean. So you're 20 years old, you declare you're on a 4-year deal, and you're going to hit free agency at 24, and you're going to get a huge second contract, because people, they're going to pay you on your past performance, so also going to pay on your potential. And when you're 24, you still have a lot of upside. If you hit free agency when you're 28, 27, that's a whole different ball of wax. So, I like it, because I like seeing my young guys go out and get paid. And as much as you love your senior year, you can always come back for a game and watch. But what was it like when you made that decision with your family and you told Coach Sutton, Coach Meyer? How'd that go?
That decision was definitely a tough one. So in my heart, I knew I was good enough to play at the next level, to play in the NFL. But the hardest part was, the brotherhood at Ohio State is very real. And that's something that I miss every day, because there's nothing like it, nothing compared to it. I still talk to those guys every day. And I know without a doubt, if I needed to call someone right now, they'll answer the phone and say, what you need.
Yeah.
So but the ultimate factor, the ultimate trump card that, helped me make the decision was, all right, you're confident in yourself. You know what your abilities are. Let's go showcase it at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a thing where, that is the one huge difference. Like, obviously the huge benefit to the NFL is you're finally getting paid to do it. But the workouts generally aren't as hard, just because you don't have like summer conditioning and 6 a.m. mat drills. Like, they don't do that in the NFL. But the negative is you really don't have that same kind of camaraderie where everybody's making the same scholarship check and the same Pell Grant, and everyone kind of lives like college kids, like kind of poor. I mean, your guys aren't driving Lamborghinis and G-Wagons like to the facility like you do when you're in an NFL locker room. And plus, everyone's kind of your age too. Everyone's from 18 to 22, 23-ish. And in the NFL, as you're 20, and there's guys that are 35 that have 5 kids, and it's just a whole different world. And when and when you leave the facility, you might hang out with some guys, but it's not like in college where you guys are all at Olentangy Commons or in the dorms together, and like you just don't. That just doesn't really exist. Am I right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. And so who was the guy that mentored you the most as when you were a freshman? You know, I know you guys had Pat, Billy. Was there a
When I
guy
was,
that took you under his wing?
when I was a freshman, it was between Pat and Jamarco.
Yeah.
Pat would wake up on 7 a.m. and drive me to the Woody to watch film early.
Yeah.
So that says a lot about Pat as a person and as a leader. And then Jamarco, he also took time out of his day to help me as well, just understanding the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big benefit when you have a kid like Jamar. You have two NFL guys on either side of you. It makes your life so much easier because I love Jamarco Jones. He's one of my favorite because he wore my number. And I remember when he was a junior and we were recruiting him, he came to Friday Night Lights, and I was sitting there with him and his mom. And I love Jamarco. So I mean, and Pat was another kid that we recruited because he actually committed to Luke Fickle when he was the head coach in 2011. And then Coach Meyer came in 12. But yes, I know those guys, their their character, their quality, and the fact they did that doesn't surprise me because they're just great kids. So switching gears to kind of the NFL stuff with the COVID stuff right now, how have you adjusted your training given the fact that you guys are doing mostly like this? You're doing Zoom meetings like as an offensive line, and then are you guys given workouts, or do they say, hey, you know what to do to get in shape, or do you have to video your workouts and send them to your strength coach?
So our strength coaches, they send out just like a basic guideline workouts. You don't have to follow it. But it's really, they gave us the liberty to, you're a professional. It's your job to stay in shape. So by any means necessary, you have to come back in camp ready to play. There is no time for BS or anything. So what I've been doing, so when I left Miami, I came here to Cincinnati. I was going to the field every day with Paris Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
another kid. I think he's gonna have a chance to start.
Yeah,
But I was going to the field every day. I was running. But then luckily I found this guy in Kentucky and we worked out in his garage.
that's awesome. Was he a trainer? And he like
Yeah,
had
he's a trainer and he
nice.
knows exactly what he's doing. And I like him because he keeps it real with me. He says, look, I don't know a lot about football, but I do know how to make a person faster and stronger because,
Yeah.
he did different sports. He did, I'm pretty sure, hockey and basketball.
Is it?
But
It's not Teddy, is it?
no, no, his name is Ryan Patrick. Yeah, Ryan Patrick.
I got you. Yeah, because Teddy Lambridides, he's down there and he's trained. He was Mickey Marotti's mentor, and he trained like Sam Hubbard and a bunch of those guys. Sam probably might still work out with them right now, but I don't know. I don't know if you've ever met him. He's awesome. He's around the Bengals a lot too, so you've probably seen him before and didn't know who he was, I would guess.
Yeah.
But he's a little bald dude, but he's an awesome, awesome dude. That's good. Do you guys have a conditioning test when you get back?
They didn't say anything so far, but
The big guys hate conditioning tests. There's nothing worse in the world if you have a hard test.
my conditioning test last year was a joke compared to Ohio State's.
Like you had you guys do 300-yard shuttles.
Yeah, 300-yard shuttles in 52 seconds.
Like, was it cut at the 50 or cut at the 25?
50.
I got you. And you have to do two of them or three of them?
Two.
Two. Damn, that is. I mean, 52 seconds is flying. Like 300-yard shuttle is basically the width of the field back, width of the field back, width of the field back, roughly. And then, what's your rest? Like 90 seconds, 2 minutes.
So it's broken into three groups. So as soon as the other groups go, then you go. And then obviously the skinny guys have less time than us.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we used to have to do 20 half gassers with Trestle, man. That was the worst day of the year every year. 20 halves, a lot of running.
Last year, Isaiah ran his in 45 seconds, and he his ass off, and he did it so hard that it was like, all right, you just run a one.
Yeah, I mean, he was a freak. I mean, people don't realize how fast, and I think he was like a deer running out there, man. He was, when you're a lineman and you're the fast lineman, it's like a good place to be. I mean, you're not like shutting other guys up, but it's like if you can finish earlier and get more rest, it's worth doing for sure. So tell me about your recruitment a little bit. So you had who was your primary recruiter? Did you have Kerry Combs or did you have Stud?
Kerry Coombs.
Was it? What'd you think of him?
He didn't even recruit me for real. I remember with Coach Hinton, he always jokes with me all the time because I guess Coach Meyer was having a meeting. And he was like, "We need to have more recruits like Kerry Coombs." He went up to the state up north and got Michael Jordan, and Coach Hinton goes like, without disrespect, Coach, Michael Jordan showed up to our front door like a firehouse baby, and he had no clue about it.
Baby.
Yeah, I went to a camp, Ohio State camp, and then they invited me to Friday Night Lights. And then they offered me, and then Coach Kroon was talking to my dad. He says, "You're going to get me fired because I missed you, and that's my state." He was always spending his time at Cass Tech.
And now the best part is you live in, like, you're in Cincinnati, which is like his home ground, and it's like he gets to be reminded of you every single Sunday when they show the starting lineup for the Bengals. I love that. That's hilarious. What coach said that in the recruiting? Was it Pantone or
Coach
Hinton? Oh, Hinton said that? That's amazing. Wow, that's hilarious, man. Well, you're one of the best recruits we've ever had. Because, like I said, you know how it is. Like, kids don't come in and start as freshmen. That's so hard to do. A lot of kids take a red shirt. You mentioned Paris earlier. Paris is a kid. He's got probably the most hype coming in, and I always try to beat that down, just because, as you know, like there's kids that come in with a lot of hype, and a lot of times they don't deliver, or it might take a year or two. And then there's guys that aren't as hyped that come in and start right away. And tell me a little bit about Paris and why you think he could potentially start this year.
Well, it's just his whole mentality as a person. So, like you said, there's a lot of guys who have a lot of hype, and then he tells me, he says, "Mike, I want to start as a freshman like you did." I've heard that so many times from so many different people, and then they get to college and they don't do any of the work, or they don't put in the time to actually do what they said they were going to do. And I realized he was kind of serious when the first day of spring practice, he was in there with the ones at right tackle.
Oh, yeah.
And then I watched his first day of pads, and he's putting people on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to spring break. He spent spring break with me in Miami, and he was just working his butt off. And it's like he was doing the extra stuff. All the older guys in the NFL like, "What are you doing, man? Like, come on, workout's over." He's like, "No, I gotta get better." It was one of those weird dudes that Coach Meyer talks about, and he's a smart kid too. He's picked up the offense. He can explain it. I've quizzed him because I still know the playbook pretty well, and he's very adaptable. He played left tackle his entire career in high school, I'm almost positive. Mm-hmm. And then he comes in and they move him to right tackle, and he's able to do it. And then he went from, a lot of tackles in high school, they're in 3 points, and in college it's 2 point. So a lot of the NFL guys took the time to help out Paris with his 2 point tackle stance, and he's moving out of it better. He's a lot quicker, and it looks more fluid.
Mm-hmm. Are you in Miami? What facility are you working out at? Pete's?
I was training at Pete's Bomberito.
I got you. So what linemen are you guys working with? That's like one of the top places in the whole world. Like, people don't realize how good that place is. It's really good.
Shoot. This year, so we were working out with a defensive lineman. He's a retired vet, and he basically just showed us the D-line's perspective. But I also worked out with Torian Wilson down there.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. And that's about it as far as like offensive line stuff.
I got you. Yeah, it's good to have a good facility you can work at and you get pushed still. Even after your combine training's over with, it's important to have a good coach that keeps you, focused and right. You're not a guy that has to worry about it because you're already a focused kid. Any kid that starts as a 20-year-old in the NFL and an 18-year-old in college is like, I'm just saying, you're just a different breed, dude. I'm just saying you're a beast. But do you have you got a good Coach Meyer story for us? Like, your favorite kind of funny story? Because I've heard 1,000 of these, but sometimes people always have like one that they can throw into the mix.
Shoot, Coach Meyer. I mean, I don't. So it has Coach Meyer involved. So it was 2016. We have a what is it, psychiatrist? I don't know what the hell he is. He's a magician that puts people to sleep, and then
Yeah.
like he can do stuff. So I faked all of that. I faked it all. So like one of the things he told me to do was like act like you're Coach Meyer, or act like you're a commentator in the game, and talk about just any game in general. And I was like, all right, I got you. So I say, holy crap, it's fourth quarter with 1 minute and 28 seconds. Ohio State is up 62 to 3 on the team up north. And he still has the starters in. I don't think those guys are going to get a break. And
Was he
then
not? Was
my
he not?
last year, then my last year, it actually happens.
Oh yeah, the
62
Dwayne's year.
39. I'm like, dang, that stuff I said 3 years ago actually happened. I didn't think he would do that, but he did. Trying to score until Demetrius Knox got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Coach Meyer. The one thing if there's one thing I disagreed with is I always felt like he kept the starters in too long. And I know our stats are always outrageously good because our starters would play, we'd be up by 45 points, and you guys would still be in like late in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, let the twos and
I
threes and the
remember,
walk-ons. I
I
mean,
remember 2017 against Illinois. I think we put a 45 on them. We take the starters out, and then the second string defense gives up 2 touchdowns. I had let's see, I had a hyperextended elbow, so I had an elbow brace on. Took that off, took my tape off. You know how it is when you get out
oh, I
the
love
game.
it. It's the best feeling in the world.
Best feeling in the world. So like
Yeah.
you take a break, and then all of a sudden they give him a touchdown. He's calling for the starting offensive line. We was like, are you shitting me? Like, are you kidding?
Dude.
And no, he was being dead serious. So, me and Jamark are looking at each other. It's all right, we just got to score quick. Thank God we scored quick. We got back out. And then the next day, Coach Meyer was like, all right, I'm sorry, guys. That was kind of messed up.
Dude,
He
it's
said, I got worried we were going to lose.
yeah.
I was like, all right.
He and I love him to death. I mean, he's one of the top 3 or 4 coaches to ever do it. But it's like nobody realizes how good of a feeling it is when you're an O lineman. You put it on him, and you get to cut that tape off in like the third quarter, and it's just like, oh, I get to chill, think about where I'm going to go to dinner, what I'm going to do tonight, like, because you only get to do that if you come out on fire and you whoop them. You can't do it if it's a dog fight. So that gives that was always my biggest incentive was to get in, kill it, and get out. Like get out as fast as possible. Like if you can throw 55 up in the first half and get out of the game, it's like let everybody else play, clear the bench, because there's kids that like walk on to literally play like one play their whole career, and you don't realize how much that means to them. And that one play that you're in where you're like the backside tackle on 47 and you're hinging for one play, like that makes his life. His parents get to say he got in the game. And I had a kid come up to me at my senior banquet, and his parents came up to me and they were like, it was so amazing that you helped our son get into the games. I told our offensive player, I was like, hey, can you put him in for one play? Just run away from him. He won't get killed, and you can take him out right away afterwards. But a lot of kids like that one play is like, it's like, man, I got to play a game in the horseshoe like I always dreamed of. And for me, like if we're up by 45 points and I got a backside hinge, it's just like, but for them, it's like everything. So I always plus I like getting young guys in to build depth, because as there's nothing that you can do inside run and you can do all those drills. There's nothing that compares to being you, what people watching you and the pressure's on. You can't be muffing a snack. You can't be, it's hard. Like you need those eyeballs on you and that pressure on you, and you're on TV. And because once you get used to it, you're always gonna have a little bit of anxiety and nerves. I'm sure you still do when you're in the NFL, but it calms down as you get more familiar with it and you become more of a veteran with it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, who's had the biggest impact on you in your life? his family, his coach?
I would most definitely say my father. My father kind of instilled all the values that carried me into football and outside of football. He taught me to be, one of the hardest workers. He taught me to, you can do whatever you put your mind to and don't let anyone tell you you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't get what you want, you have no one else but yourself to blame. And that's always stuck with me, and it helps me, keep my cool at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's your mentality is just so important when you play football. It's like one of those things where people don't realize how mental the game is. Obviously, you have to have your physical prerequisites to do it. But when you're like a young freshman, and that was like something I talked about yesterday on our morning show on Buckeye Scoop, is it was like, look, there's gonna be days where you don't have a good day in one-on-one pass rush, or you don't have a good practice. I mean, it happens. At Ohio State, you're going against really good players, and you really got to treat every day like a game, or you're going to get embarrassed. You know how that is, and but you have to. I've seen kids that get so down on themselves that they never get out of that hole. And so the mental toughness is a big deal. It's not just being able to run fast and jump high. It's like you have to say, hey, like if you lose, like you've lost games before. You lose, have a big loss or whatever, and all the noise around you, when you're walking to class is awful, and the whole city's kind of down. Like mentally, you have to stay locked in and just have the kind of the blinders on. I mean, am I right? And that's something you dealt with, I'm sure.
I mean, I always felt like, when you come out of high school, you're an 18-year-old kid. So I feel like the whole goal of college football in general is just breaking down a young kid and building them up in the way that they want you to be. And if you fold or bend during that and you stay that way, it'll crush you, it'll eat you alive. I always try to tell that to young guys because Ohio State's tough. I mean, you know it's tough.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
And you have to always keep fighting every day. You got to take care of your mental health and your mental stability, because if you don't, at some point it will eat you up.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a pressure packed thing. Like I tell people, I'm like, look, this isn't for the meek. Like playing at Ohio State, man, it's like, fans love you, as long as you win. But man, when you get that bad loss, and you've seen it, I mean, it is, I always tell these guys, I tell these young guys, I was like, guys, don't be on Twitter, don't get on Instagram. Like, I know you guys only do that stuff so that you can get girls. That's the only reason that you're on social media. And you can laugh because I'm right, but it's one of those.
All about winning and getting deals now.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But it's like, when you have that bad game, like I remember like Isaiah out at Penn State, I was like, oh my God. I was texting him. I don't want like, I mean, people were just vicious, man. You know how it is. And like, I told these guys, I'm like, don't let people have access to you. Like LeBron in the playoffs goes 0 dark 30 on Twitter. And I was like, that's genius. You should just do that all the time. Cause then they can't have access to you. They can't affect your mental health, and like if you're a young offensive lineman and you start and you give up a couple sacks, like Taylor Decker did that against Khalil Mack, his first career start. And it was like, Earl Bruce and some of these guys are like, he should never play again. Where did we get this kid from? And the Taylor turned into a first-round pick left tackle who's going to sign a huge extension in a year. And Khalil Mack actually ended up being like one of the top 5 players in the league. So, but the mental health thing is just so huge. And, yours is off the charts strong. Because again, you started as an 18-year-old at Ohio State, started as a rookie in the NFL. You should have been a first-round pick. You weren't a first-round pick. And you started as a rookie despite, a lot of kids that are first rounders, they just get shoved right into a starting spot, whether they earn it or not. You know how that goes in the league. It's like if you're a first or second round pick, you're starting. Like it don't matter if you fall on your face a million times, they're gonna put you out there and do that. And talk to me a little bit. This is interesting about how you were told you were going to start your first career game in the NFL, because that's a big deal when you're a young kid and you're trying to make a name for yourself, and they say, hey, we're going to go with you as a starter. Tell me what that emotion was like.
I think it was after my second preseason game. My coach comes over to me after the game, tells me, you're going to start that first game, that first week. And it was the same feeling at Ohio State. I always believe in myself. That is the number one. That's the number one key, because I feel like, the majority of football is all in your head. It's all in your head. And Pat Alfine, he always he always reinforced that to me every day when I used to get beaten pass rush. Bro, you win the rep, you know, before you put your hand down. So you can have the worst form in the world, but if you know you're gonna win, you're gonna fucking win.
Mhm.
So um, I just feel like when I got that, my coach told me that, I was, you know, I had to calm myself down because I was getting too happy at a certain point. And I was like, all right, that's good. All right, now let's go show him that he didn't make a mistake.
Mhm.
So that's how it felt.
Now, was this your head coach or was this your O-line coach?
My O-line coach.
So is that Turner? Is he
Yeah,
still
Jim.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. He was on Hard Knocks a few years ago. He's intense. I think he's a former Marine. So you guys,
Yeah.
he's not real loose. He's a pretty high strung guy. I think he's a good coach. And personally, I've never played for him, but he did really good work with the line in Miami when he was down there. He got caught up in the whole mess with the hazing thing, but I mean they had a great line. I mean, they had him, Pouncey, Ritchie, Jake Long. I mean, that was a good line. All right, so we'll wrap it up here pretty quick. So going into this season, I know that this is the most bizarre offseason in history, but I'm guessing they have you penciled in at left guard.
Yeah.
So okay, that's perfect, man. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'm guessing you might have a new left tackle if they're going to play Jonah at left tackle now that his labrum's fixed. But yeah, so that'll be. You like Jonah?
Yeah, he's good and he's smart.
Yeah,
So,
I'll tell you what, man. There's nothing more valuable than having a bunch of smart guys that aren't going to leave you hanging on an island. You know.
you don't have to. It takes away a lot of pressure pre-snap.
Oh, it's so huge, and even just having a guy that you can trust, like to pass games off and that kind of thing. Guys that aren't going to leave you hung out to dry and that kind of thing. Like it's people don't realize how important it is to have like a good tackle and a good center next to you. Like when I played tackle, having a good guard is like the greatest thing in the universe. Like I talked to Wyatt Davis about that. I was like, I would have killed to have you as my guard because it's like he's going to be there. He's going to get movement on the double teams. He's going to pass guys off and it was funny. I was talking to when I talked to Orlando Pace, I said, my all-time dream team offensive line would be him at left tackle, Larry Allen, who you reminded me of at left guard, Jonathan Ogden, who actually played guard as a rookie in the league at right guard, and then Walter Jones at right tackle. And it was funny because Orlando talked about how he played in a Pro Bowl next to LA, and he loves LA. He's like, LA is the best guard to ever play. And it was funny because for some reason in the Pro Bowl they were actually running games. They were running like TEs and stuff. And he said LA hit a guy on a TE and he like went out past the hash. Like he went like 6 yards. He hit him so hard. And like I was like, people don't realize how good that is. It's like it's like having a like a Steph Curry. Every time you pass him the ball, he hits a three when he's open. That's what it's the kind of that feeling. You know that he's going to be there, and you know that he's going to nail it. And it's just one of those things. I'm really excited to see you two work together. So I think that'll be special. I think like I said, you should have been a first round pick. You took one for the team playing center, which was amazing of you. It's being a great leader. But dude, I'm proud of you. I'm so happy for you. You're a friend of the Scoop. Do you want a shirt? I'll send you the Scoop World Order shirt. You don't have to wear it when you're out at Club Live now, but you can wear it, when you're working out. Cut the sleeves off and whatever,
Yeah.
But if you were in Club Live, I won't be mad because I'll probably get on Instagram. So, but dude, you're a special dude, man. I'm so happy for you. Oh, last thing, how awesome was it when you found out you got drafted in Cincinnati? Just because your folks are up in Michigan and it's a quick little drive down to watch your games. And plus, you play Lions. You play all these NFC North teams that are close for your parents. Like, I mean, how awesome is that?
I'm originally from Cincinnati.
Oh no way! Wow, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Bengals was my favorite. The Bengals was my favorite team growing up, man. So it definitely meant a lot to me and my family because my dad, he's always cheered for two teams: Cincinnati Bengals and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Wow.
And it's like everything came full circle because I lived all over the United States. I lived in Ohio, I lived in Kentucky, I lived in South Carolina, and I lived in Michigan. And just come back to Cincinnati, it just shows how God works, and I'm super grateful and thankful because this is everything any Cincinnati kid could ever ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And the chances of getting to the NFL are already small, but the chances to get drafted by your team it's even smaller.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Did your folks move down there with you, or are they still up in Michigan?
They're still up in Michigan. I know they're thinking about, after my brother graduates high school, living down here.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Because like I said, it's only probably about a 4-hour drive to get down to see your games, and compared to if you had been picked by like the Seattle or
Yeah, that would
somewhere
have
out
been.
west, they got to pay for an airplane ticket. So that's when I see these guys get drafted locally, I get real. It's just so I get happy for them because I know your folks can get down and see you a lot. And they can get to your games, and they can go over to Pittsburgh and go over to Cleveland, and fly to Baltimore, and it's probably a cheap flight. And that means a lot, because how it is. Like when you have people waiting for you after the game, it's like a whole different level than when you walk out and you're like by yourself. It's cool to have your folks there and have your friends there and that type of thing. And the proximity to Detroit or from the Michigan area to Cincinnati is huge. So, all right, brother. Well, dude, I appreciate you. I'll get your address on text. I'll ship you some Scoop order. I'm doing these hoodies, these like Under Armour hooded T-shirts, but they got the Scoop logo on it. This is Buckeye Scoop. So we're taking over, baby. So we're just trying to be like you. We're trying to start fast and be great early. So it's tough, but you know how to do it. So
Yeah, for sure.
again, I appreciate you, brother. You're the best, and you have a good off season. And hopefully we'll have some football training camp coming soon because we need some football to talk about, my man.
I appreciate it too, man. I'll hit you up for sure.
All right, thank you, brother. See you, my friend.
No problem. Yeah.